Thank you for staying with State of the Nation here, and today it's all about the by-elections 2025 happening across 18 counties and 15 MCAs positions. A member of National Assembly has 6, Senate is 1 in Baringo. We have our reporters covering this end-to-end. Emmanuel Toy is in Mbeere North, Melito Letenges is in Malava, Laura Otieno is in Ugunja, Stephen Letoy is in Baringo, Gatete Njoroge is in Kasipul, Francis Psalaki is in Magarini, Ben Kirui is standing by in Narok. Let's cross over to Ben and find out what the latest is. Ben Kirui, good morning. It's good to see you. What's the latest from where you are in terms of security and also in terms of the by-elections?
Well, good morning, Trevor, from Narok North. This is Narok Town Ward, where the election process has already started. It kicked off at exactly 6 a.m. and the number of voters, or the turnout, is still low. We are experiencing a low turnout of voters at this one of the main polling centers, the Masikonde Primary School, where also one of the biggest or one of the aspirants who is vying for this position of MCA seat will be voting shortly. But as I said, this is one of the biggest polling stations with around more than 8,000 voters. But as of now, we have experienced a very low turnout of voters. And I will be speaking to some of them, what time they arrived here and what they are experiencing or expecting the process to turn out. Mama, hujambo? Mimi naitwa Ben Kirui kutoka Citizen. Naomba nikuongeleshe, niambie wewe ni mpiga kura hapa, shughuli kwaje, ulifika saa ngapi?
Mimi naitwa Jane na mimi nimefika tu saa hii.
Unatarajia tayari umepata jina lako liko kwenye orodha ya wapiga kura?
Nimeangalia nikapata, niko hapa, sasa ndio naelekea kupiga kura.
Lakini vile ambavyo line ni fupi sana, najua unatarajia kupiga kura wakati wote kuanzia sasa, lakini unaonaje wakati ulifika, mambo ikoje kulingana wewe?
Huko naona hakuna ubaya, kuko tu salama, bila labda masaa ingine ndio kutakuwa kunoma.
Trevor, I will also be speaking to one of the voters here. Niambie jina lako alafu niambie umefika saa ngapi, unatarajia shughuli iendelee vipi?
Mimi naitwa James Moura. Nimefika sasa hivi tu. Nimefika sasa hivi. Kile naona ni turnout iko chini. Kuna ripoti za kuhuzunisha, watu wameshambuliwa usiku. Na tunashangaa watu wako na wasiwasi kiasi. Lakini tutajitokeza tu tufanye haki yetu.
Well, Trevor, I'll also be speaking to Deputy Presiding Officer who has been here since morning to tell us how the exercise has been going on since then. Niambie jina lako alafu hali kwaje?
My name is Sharon Soyan. Watu wamejitokeza lakini si kwa wingi, but we expect a good turnout during as the days go by. Yeah.
Kwa kawaida hii ni polling station ambayo iko na wapiga kura wengi ambao wamejiandikisha. Labda wakati muda utakapozidi, mnatarajia kwamba watafika kwa wingi ama inaendelea tu kuwa slow?
We expect that by the end of the day we'll have a good turnout because this is a big polling station. So we expect a good number actually from this station. Yes.
Security situation, or is it like?
We are very sorted. We have good security and enough security personnel with us. Yes.
Thank you so much, and all the best. Trevor, that is Deputy Presiding Officer in charge of this polling station, Masikonde Primary School, where I said a number of voters, it has like 8,128 voters according to the IEBC register of 2022. And we also have a number of polling stations, including St. Peter's Primary School, Ilma Shariani polling center, we have Lenana ECD Communication Nursery, Ole Sankale, we have Nkai Ramram, Pulunga Wildlife Nursery, Oloiloto or Ololoto polling center, we have also Limanet, we have Katakala, Nairasirasa, Empopongi and Naningo Nursery. We have a total voters of 29,542 registered voters. That is as per the IEBC register of 2022. And quickly, Trevor, because this is also one of the wards that it has experienced, or it is one of those that the results will be keenly followed by a number of residents across not only Narok County but also across the country because of the high competitiveness, and we have a number of 12 candidates.
At what time is your candidate also, the DP candidate, expected to vote, and where?
Well, my candidate is registered in his ward, Momenji. I understand at Karambari Primary School. That's where I'll be voting. He had indicated to me last night when we parted that he will be casting his ballot at around midday today.
So far, how do you assess the complaints you had about possibility of interference, say, through goons or insecurity? What is your assessment so far within the first hour of voting?
Within the first hour, there's been no incidents has been reported. I have checked with the people in Siakago, around the town. I've checked with the people around Ishiara, and here, as you can see, the situation is calm, and therefore, my assumption is that if all goes well, we should get an incident-free polling day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any concerns about the roadblocks that have been erected along the roads?
Well, I heard the story about the roadblocks, which the particular reporter who mentioned about the roadblocks started saying that they were elected from around Mwea, which is in Kirinyaga County, coming all the way to Embu. I think it is a good thing because if the police are serious, then they should be able to pick out any bad elements that may be coming from outside the county to come and disrupt the process.
Yeah. The UDS side yesterday said that it is you in the opposition who are planning to plant goons and blame the government for it.
We have no intention of doing anything like that. In any event, as you can see, you will see here where we are. We cannot plant goons because we know we can almost predict the results. I have voted here since 1974, and I can tell you, I know the voting pattern. I'm very, very confident, and we have no reason to even imagine of bringing goons that could cause disruption, cause intimidation and fear, and discourage candidates from, voters from coming to vote.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. The Democratic Party leader, Justin Muturi, they are now heading to the...
All right, that's a former CS for Public Service, also former Attorney General, also former Speaker J.B. Muturi speaking in Mbeere North, and there's Manuel Toy is also there, and former AG as well, Attorney General. Let's cross over now to Stephen Leto, who's in Baringo. Stephen, good morning again. It's good to see you again. Sorry, we had some technical challenges there. We wanted some clarification on the submerged polling stations and whether they were gazetted on time and other people are aware where they're supposed to go and vote now that their stations, original stations, are submerged.
Well, apologies for that technical hitch that we had. We are operating on high altitude right here in Baringo, and our technical team has already rectified that hitch. But regarding the submerged polling stations, we had 8 submerged polling stations, Trevor, that were supposed to be, first of all, degazetted and gazettement of fresh polling station, because we spoke to Commissioner Anne Deritu, who told us about the submerged polling stations in Baringo South that were supposed to be, gazetted afresh, so that those voters who will be, who are supposed to vote in those particular polling stations are shifted to another. But that particular gazettement, of course, happened very, very late, as late as yesterday, and so that might have disadvantaged those who are in these particular polling stations that I can name them for you, Trevor. Some of those submerged polling stations that we have are 8. We have Lake Bogoria Secondary School polling station. We have Ngambo Primary School, that is in Ilchamus ward. We have also Lake Baringo Secondary School, still in Ilchamus ward. We have Salabani Primary School, it is still in Ilchamus ward. Lesan Primary School, it is in Ilchamus ward. We have Sintan Primary School polling station, that is in Ilchamus ward, as well as Oldepe Osinya Primary School, that is in Ilchamus ward, as well as Nosukuro Primary School polling station, that is Mukutani ward, that is in Baringo South constituencies. The gazettement of alternative polling stations was done, but we are not sure yet if the information got to all those who have been affected, because some might not even turn up to go and vote because they already know that those polling stations are completely or partially submerged. But the alternative polling stations, the gazettement of those particular polling stations to be the alternative has happened a bit late from the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and that is why we expect that there will be that mishap and that particular confusion from the voters. But IBC said it will gazette just nearby primary schools or secondary schools to be the alternative polling stations. And so, Trevor, this issue of the submerged polling stations is also something that is of a great concern to that voter who is coming from Mukutani ward as well as the Ilchamus ward. Trevor.
Thanks, Leto. Stephen Leto, they are speaking to us in Baringo there. And my guest is still with me in studio. And let me come back to Eric Okeyo here. Why do you believe this is a must-win for President William Ruto? And you earlier on said that it's a do or die. But the fellow panelists say that this is his best chance to lose so that he figures out how to restructure his team.
Trevor, the history that my dear friend Dan Manduku alludes to cannot be relevant 31 years later. 31 years later, the perception of the value of voting has is not the same as what it was in 1994 and today. I insist that these by-elections will shape up the view of the public on the president. Government does regular popularity surveys within its rank and file, away from knowledge of the public. And they sit to share with the president such feedback. I know for a fact today that the rating of popularity of this government is way below 40%, which then means that the view of anybody who would reach a polling station to vote is that unless something very drastic happens, public confidence in the government has eased off away. And that is why I insist that, and you know, Musalia and Wetangula, again I disagree with Franklin. Musalia and Wetangula are just people who even Ruto knows they didn't bring him a lot of value. I mean, Musalia was a party leader of ANC. His own MCA, where he comes from, was elected by an opposing party, ODM. His member of parliament, Clement's lawyer, is elected on UDA. The governor and senator of Vihiga are elected on ODM. The only person elected on ANC, the Nasa Ao Chama, whose leader is Musalia, is a women rep, my friend Honorable Beatrice Adagala. So I can tell you, the leader of that formation is not Musalia, is not Wetangula. It is Ruto. In fact, I wanted this to be a shadow boxing match between Ruto and his erstwhile nemesis, Rigiji, because Rigiji has identified with the united opposition. He says, we made you president, now we want to make you the historic leader of opposition. So if, for example, you were to lose Mbeere in favor of the president, then what is the effect of Rigiji? If you are to lose it in favor of Rigiji, then Mount Kenya has spoken. You can almost now predict an en masse defection. In fact, this is what I predict, that if we go if Mbeere goes the way of DP, it is possible that as we face the new year, just before elections, you see another retinue of en masse resignations so that people test their ground and go back to the party of the moment, as it were then, which will be DCP. And so I identify with even the headline by the Standard that this is dress rehearsal. From a security perspective, what does government achieve when it over-deploys security officers on voting day? They achieve voter apathy, because there are people who feel scared to go and vote. The EMAD personnel carriers that were crisscrossing Mbeere were extremely unnecessary, if you ask me. Mbeere people are unarmed. Mbeere people just want to go and vote for their choice, who doesn't appear to be the choice of the government. And you see, if you have just seen the Honorable Justin Muturi there, you read his body language. He's exuding confidence. I mean, we have all seen here, he's exuding clear confidence, almost saying he can predict the outcome. And on the other hand, remember that JB is a former MP for that place. That it was then called Siakago. It is what is Mbeere North now, Kanyuambora, where he is born. He has been member of parliament there. He was minister, he was attorney general. And I think the support base that he enjoys is way ahead of that which Geoffrey Ruku can purport to bring in favor of the ruling coalition.
Who was also an MP there.
Yes. So finally, Trevor, look at even Kasipul. Kasipul, by 1 week ago, it was almost clear that it was going to go to the ODM candidate. By yesterday morning, it has changed.
What?
Every imaginary or real ally of the president in that constituency and county have identified with the independent candidate. And I dare repeat here that every real or imaginary ally of the president in Kasipul and in Homa Bay are supporting the independent candidate.
So are you saying the party politics will not play out in Kasipul?
No.
This will not be a factor?
They will not play out.
Even post-Baba? Because there was also a conversation in terms of...
I am a life member of ODM. I know dynamics in our party. I want to say here that... and the only one that is clear is the Ugunja one, that it will go ODM. Kasipul, until it is not done, until it is done. Okay. It can easily go the way of the independent. Okay. So what am I saying? And what will that send as a signal also? It will be that...
For the broad-based government.
It will test the popularity of the broad-based government. Because, you know, broad-based government, you have apologists, CSS, who are roaring on podiums how that region who was left in broad-based by Baba, and it will be there until kingdom in heaven come on earth. But you see, that even happens at a time when the Auditor General is flagging off a suspicious loss of 300 billion. When the Auditor General says that if we were in a system of governance that works, you would be asking why the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury hasn't been asked to step aside. The Director General of Public Debt Management, the Auditor General, the Controller of Budget will be saying, we will be asking what is this they had not flagged off. Okay. Yeah. So for me, Trevor, the test of these by-elections. And I also, the physical absence of the president from the by-elections is nothing big to talk home about, because who does Kindiki represent in Mbeere with Geoffrey Ruku, with all national government infrastructure? They represent the president. On the other hand, who does Musalia represent with Wetangula, even forgetting he is their national arbiter, whether the member of parliament were from the opposition or not? It means they know that the writing is on the wall. And you know, to a basic Kenyan, the people who vote are not Manduku, the elitist, Dan Manduku and Franklin Mugwanja. In fact, if on the voting day, Franklin was so busy with his diary, he may easily not vote. The people who vote are my aunties and grandmothers in Nyakach. Those ones, when they come, now the expectation, now the major expectation is that Gen Zs are going to vote. Gen Zs are more enlightened. Their view is that something is tremendously wrong with government.
Okay. Mkwanja disagrees, but let me bring in Mule first of all, and especially on the security part. Does a heavy deployment of security contingent lead to apathy or to confidence that this is going to go smoothly, therefore people feel more confident to come out?
No, it leads to apathy. That's very clear. I mean, from the trends, everywhere across the continent, if you over-deploy security, it leads to more people deciding not to turn out because there's always, I mean, it is perceived that, and I think Franklin was very clear when he says that there's a need to focus on the EMBs. The EMB is not the IBC alone. The police is part of the election management. So the over-deployment, remember there's even a kind of a designated number, the ones who are supposed to be in a polling station. There must be a reason where you over-securitize a particular election. Either there is a clear flagging of insecurity, which needs to be apprehended in good time. And it should also be very clear even to the wananchi that we have a problem and this problem needs to be addressed. Remember when you were talking about the Mombasa Republican, it was MCC, sorry. MRC. Yeah, the Mombasa Republican Council. Yeah, the one where we had people who were threatening to cede from even the country. That could be a security threat. That's something that you can say we want to deploy because we believe this is an area where there is identified or flagged off as a terrorist zone, so we can put in some extra security. But where we don't have such very clear flaggings, then there's no reason for that over securitization. And it does lead to voter apathy. Although, again, like you'll notice at the end of the day, by-elections always attract a very low turnout, very low, sometimes even around 30%. We don't have a lot of excitement unless it is created and mobilized by politicians. Like the one, I think, in Mbeere now, the Kasipul, all these hot spots. There could be some excitement that could bring out some very good numbers. But without that, you would still expect around less than 50% people turning out. But before I hand over, let me just, I don't want to wade into the politics itself, but let me just speak a little bit about it. You know, there are variables. There are so many variables in this country. I mean, if you look at the trends over the years, Dana has talked about the issue of precedents. In terms of this being a watershed moment, which usually shapes how things happen. That's very true. Remember the Bomas draft, the 2005 referendum, shaping 2007. But it also offers opportunities for presidents. And in this country, there's a lot of the interests. The presidency, my friend says that the president may not matter so much. But remember, this is a country that we say, people refused the president to be elected in parliament. They say the president is our president. That's why we have a presidential system. So our president still matters. I think it's going to be a very interesting after poll politics between now and 2027 in terms of what are the gains and losses on both sides and what are the games that are going to be played to each side to consolidate its strength. The opposition, if it gets a momentum, how do they consolidate it? Remember, they still have a question of a united opposition, one candidate. I think if they win, that would be much more clearer for them. If they don't win and the president wins, then the president can consolidate also his side. But if the president loses, it offers him an opportunity. And he's been a president who has been very good when it comes to recrafting and re-engineering himself, especially on such matters. So I think it's going to be a very interesting landscape after this, irrespective of whichever way it goes. They all will go back to the drawing board. They all have some time. And it will be very interesting to see. One of the things as an observer I'll be looking out for would be the use of state resources after. between now and 2027, because if they do lose, then you can imagine that the state apparatus is going to be deployed in a manner that should secure victory in 2027. Yeah. So I'll be on the lookout for such things. Okay. But it's going to be very interesting after poll politics, in my view.
Okay, Manduku, will the party matter? Let's say, for example, in Ugunja, post-Baba now, post-Jacom, there seems to be a perception that the independents now seem to have more of a voice. Will the party matter in these by-elections, and will it matter going forward, the sponsoring party?
I don't think the party matters. What matters is the formation. But even before I go to that, I want to agree with my panelists here that this will be a moment for engineering. I also want to disagree with Okeyo. We have 5 by-elections, parliamentary by-elections, out of 290 constituencies. 6 out of 290 constituencies. Anybody who has done research theory will tell you that statistically, 6 out of 290 is far below the sample size. In fact, in research, when you have a population of 290, you take a minimum of 10%. If we had about 30 by-elections, then that would be a barometer, statistically speaking. But 6 out of 290, it is neither here nor there. It cannot shape, it cannot inform the holistic view of 2027. And I like referring to history. In the year 1992, the Americans elected Bill Clinton as president. By 1994, his popularity was very low during the midterm elections. In fact, I think he lost control of the Senate and of the Congress. But that gave him a reason to re-engineer himself. I want to agree with him that this is a moment for William Ruto to start and re-engineering himself. And by 1994, he was re-elected for second term. Fast forward, the 43rd president, Bush Jr., same thing. By midterm, he was very unpopular. It is like when you have a child who's doing an exam, and he or she does a cut and doesn't perform very well in the cut. You sit down the child and tell them,
the mock exams.
You know, hujafanya vizuri.
But
and
the exams are coming.
Gives the child a better impetus to perform better in the exam. And don't forget, cuts are just 30% of the. In fact, theoretically, you can get a 0 in the cut and work on the main exam. These by-elections have no significance apart from the fact that they'll give William Ruto a reason to get rid of all these characters who've been lying to him that he's popular. And then he'll have a reason to craft a new team. Now, going back to party politics. First, I am a member of the ODM party. The late Raila Odinga was able to hold us together. In fact, Raila Odinga formed a coalition of regions in ODM. You know, the coast people, the northeastern, Abagusi like us, he had the western region, and the Luo Nyanza. And because we respected him and we had hope in him, even when he did things that we didn't agree with, we were together. But once Baba exited, and may God rest his soul in eternal peace, we in ODM are not going to be the same. Why are we saying that? We have never had elections in ODM. In fact, if elections were held today, none of those guys in the party position will win the elections except Sifuna. And we are saying March is not very far. We want a national delegates conference.
Yes.
And we elect Babu Wino as our party leader in March. And maybe retain Sifuna as SG. That is what the young people are saying. And that is what is going to happen. I know this may ruffle feathers and people may be uncomfortable, but the people want Babu Wino as party leader. Whether we remain in ODM as Kisii or not, that's another story. We may not remain there.
Why?
As Gusii Nation.
Why not?
The Gusii Nation has gone to Matiang'i, all of it. Just ask any Kisii, call 10 Kisiis, 90% are with Matiang'i. But ODM as it is...
And not Maraga.
Well, Maraga is our son, and we love him. We love him very much. But you see,
maybe he needs to come to
he may join Matiang'i also. So we are telling ODM that the party that Baba left is not the same. And sorry for that. That is how it is.
So you're certain this will break?
It must break.
It must break.
Yeah, if we don't have Babu Owino as a party leader, we want someone young, someone vibrant, someone who is brave.
Who is we?
Party members. ODM party members. Someone who is educated also. That guy has, I think, 5 degrees, And someone who has got the future. Hope for the future. Sorry to say, but you see, Baba passed on at the age of 80. He was replaced by his brother, who is 83 years old. We want someone who is much younger, 40 and below. I'm also too old to be a party leader right now, because we want hope.
Yeah.
We want the young people to join ODM. We want the young people to have someone they can look at and see hope and the future. And the only person who can do that is Babu Owino. I'm sure many party guys will not like this, but that's how it is.
No, but even Oburu himself, I spoke to him and he said that it is true that younger people should step up and take the positions even more. He agrees on that, there's no doubt. And even said that he did not ask to be given that role. It is the NEC who gave him that role. But still, you have 3 deputy party leaders. How come you're not suggesting any of them there?
Who are they?
Abdul Samad is there, Simba Arati is there.
Who are those? Do I know them? Were they elected by anyone? Do they have the interests of the party?
Correct.
Have they articulated anything that the late Raila Odinga stood for? Have we gone to a national delegates conference and agreed that these are the people we are going to have as deputy party leaders? We haven't.
I agree with that position.
And by the way, Trevor, you should join ODM and run for a seat.
I'm in the media.
You're a young guy, so you have a good future.
I fully agree with that.
So you're confirming that this is not going to hold at all post.
It can never hold. It can never hold. No one has that capacity to hold us together.
Okay.
We have got very divergent views. We've got free thinking, independent-minded, and none of us can subscribe to the ideals of some of those parties.
What does that mean then for the broad-based government and for President William Ruto? What is his best strategy now? Would he then negotiate with ODM as a team or
if I was
individuals now?
If I was William Ruto today, I would pick Winnie Odinga into cabinet and get rid of all those other characters, because she can replace all those. And then have space to bring new people. Bring a new Kisi in, bring a new guy from Coast, and make it broader. In the absence of Raila Odinga, these are just individuals in cabinet.
Thank you.
We in ODM don't recognize them. We never sat in a parliamentary group meeting or any formation to agree that these people are going into this broad-based arrangement. And what Sifuna says is actually the correct position. These individuals went there on their own volition. And so, when Baba passed on, they became irrelevant in as far as we are concerned. That's how it is.
Okay. Mkwanja, these are very interesting revelations about ODM, but we're focusing on the by-elections.
By a member.
You have 2 live members.
And I told you here, I told you, Trevor, on TV that we are going into Nusu Mkate. Remember?
Yes, before it happened.
I even said that there'll be people from ODM joining government.
You said it, yeah.
Now, when Baba passed on, these people are no longer part of our arrangement. In fact, we don't know or we don't recognize them as ODM.
Baba was in Nusu Mkate.
Yes. Baba was in Nusu Mkate.
So I'll have a take on a range of issues.
Yeah.
One is the conversation of the relevance of the party. My background is democratic development work, and my responsibility on a daily basis is as a CEO of the Center for Multi-Party Democracy. So it's a very exciting area I want to touch. And it's quite disappointing that parties are, and it's not just a party in terms of the name and the symbol, but really looking into parties as vehicles of issue-based politics. And this campaign, by-elections campaigns, have been devoid of any clear issues that are being championed. We have issues around the economy. Yesterday, you saw the Oxfam report. I think it's well covered. We have the President's State of the National Address dropping very interesting figures that you cannot reference to any authoritative and authentic source. Yes, inflation has and the exchange rate figures are looking decent, but what's the real picture, and why are we not feeling this impact in the pocket? And therefore, you would expect that such occasions present an opportunity for the parties to compete on issues. You have the challenge since time immemorial, the youth ban, youth employment, youth underemployment. You're talking about housing and such things when you're saying the country is a construction site. But the official data that we have is that construction has contracted by about 2%, So those are things that... touch on that as well. Because all those things are actually very important. So the stranglehold of patronage on our politics is something that we must bemoan and emphasize that the parties that these gentlemen come from and the parties that we support at the Center for Multi-Party Democracy begin, and we are working on this with very critical partners, development partners, championing issue-based politics. What is the place of it?
But at this point, are the parties significant? Because, for example, I give an example of
in this campaign,
Ugunja, for example.
Yes.
Ugunja, there are 10 candidates.
Yes,
but we are talking about
that tells you that there's still the place of parties, and we describe ourselves as a multi-party democratic state, but having political titans like Raila Odinga and William Ruto and the other actors have basically made the issue of multi-party democratic state being only ideal. In reality, is that we have been a two-party state for quite some time. Hopefully, the space is opening up, and the number of candidates on various political parties is actually indicative of the opening up of the space and the competition. The only thing I'm bemoaning is that I want to see more issues that differentiate the candidatures and the parties on the ballot. Because those issues are not really coming out very clearly. You cannot see clearly what Aroko in Kasipul is saying that is starkly different from what the young man Boyd is talking about. And when you listen to the campaigns, it is sloganeering. It's not actually clarity about the issues that they would want to champion. Number two, it's easy for pundits like my senior and elder brother here, Okeo, to analyze and because I believe it's politically partisan, and therefore for him it's to do straight lines.
This is very clear.
To do straight lines. Yeah. But we're here in very delicate responsibilities. I have to look at issues a little bit different from how he looks at it. And that's why we naturally and respectively disagree. I still think that the absence of the president on the campaign trail, and we know, and he knows it very well because he's a political animal. If there is something that the president has painstakingly removed from his diary in this period, I believe, is being on the campaign trail. He loves being on top of the rooftop. And that one we know as Kenyans. In fact, if there's something that Kenyans agree about, is whether the President William Ruto is a leader or a politician. Kenyans, the jury is out, and Kenyans will tell you the answer. So he really misses the campaign trail. So just saying that his absence is insignificant, it's not. I see it as very strategic because it's not in his nature. And we will see that in the aftermath of it. On the issue of security, I'm not just concerned about the over-deployment, but also the politicization. Trevor, you really remember that there's been a lot of investment, and Mule can tell you because we work jointly on electoral reform issues, that if there's a huge investment we have done in terms of electoral reforms, is in educating the security apparatus to appreciate their place and role as of police officers as election officials, right? As poll officers, and that is quickly being blurred The case of Malaba, for instance, where an OCS was transferred and a new one was brought in, and suddenly there is a difference in terms of levels of violence that are being experienced. You have candidates with their specific schedules, and candidates' schedules are being interfered with. Attempts to have candidates not campaign according to their plans and schedule, and having people to come out, ordinary folks come out to defend their candidates to campaign. That tells you that there's absolutely something wrong that is going on with not just the overdeployment, not just the cordoning off of Mbeere without justification, but also the politicization of police, and that portends a lot of challenges going forward. And because my dear brother here invited me, I do not want him to speak for me about my two relatives from the West. I have my own views about Mudavadi, and I have my own views about Weta, and I'll say them clearly. Yeah. For me, Prime Cabinet Secretary Mudavadi embodies the politics of restraint. Technocratic, a loyal follower, a disciplined servant. But in my view, and with a lot of respect to the elder, is that Mudavadi lacks the disruptive energy that redefines the political energy. And that is why now he sounds like beginning to cry over spilled milk because someone in the name of what they describe as small boy Natembeya is taking off with a cookie jar. And his style does not inspire, and that is the challenge. On the other hand, and my views about Wetangula is that he is one politician that has some doses of charisma, with some rhetorical brilliance, and a very shrewd mobilizer. And that is why I am actually beseeching the media that it's important to look at Malaba in Western, but it could be nice to move to Kabuchai and look at the dynamics there, because the things that are happening there define who Wetangula is. Unfortunately for me, and with a lot of respect again to the Speaker of the National Assembly, one of the most experienced politicians in Western Kenya, is that he tends to shift gears into transactional politics. Prioritizing survival of a vision. And these are the things that I want to go on record, as I've said, not what Okeyo is putting across. Because I have interacted with these politicians. I have my own little experience working around them, and that is how I put it. So it's not about whether they were relevant and still relevant to William Ruto or not. Mm-hmm. On the issue of ODM, finally, I think the best position that ODM can place itself is, because yes, they have not had elections at the national level, and all those leaders at the national level, including my good brother Edwin Sifuna, were handpicked by Baba. Mm. But one of the things that I would actually, praise Baba for, may his soul rest in peace, is that at the time of the handover temporarily to Anyang' Nyong'o in Mombasa, I had the privilege to participate in that meeting as an observer, as a development partner. ODM is our member party, and I was invited to speak at that meeting, and one of the things that was canvassed, and I had an opportunity to speak to the party leader himself, and he committed that we will do grassroots elections. Mm. And it's quite clear that ODM, and before Baba left, delivered the grassroots elections. Mm. And we followed them, and I'm sure that even Ilog here observed, and they have done the grassroots elections to a good level. Okay. What ODM remains to do is an NDC, so that the membership can actually deliver the top leadership of the party. Let the people choose. And I think at that point, if the elections of the party are handled well, let the youth leader in Oburu, Senator Oburu be there, let Babu be there, let Manduku be there, let all those be there, let the delegates choose their national leadership. ODM may avoid a split. But the person who would not want that is one actor called the President William Ruto. It is in the interest of President William Ruto that ODM does not stick together. Finally,
stick together or sticks together?
Does not stick together.
Does not stick together.
Does not stick together.
Yes.
It's Machiavelli.
Yeah.
Machiavelli.
Yes. Finally, I think that, and I've said this to you before, I think on this show, you're not the moderator, could be your colleague. And I said, for me, the issue of taking Oparanya, Joho, Mbadi, and Wandai to the cabinet was something premeditated by Raila in terms of aiding ODM survive and transition. The question is, the issue is, in my view, if I look at Oparanya, look at Joho, look at Wandai and Mbadi, these are people who are already quietly and possibly engaging William Ruto, the shrewd politician that he is. And Baba may have realized and said, I am losing this cause, right? And they were power hungry. They needed, there was no other development route for progress, especially for Oparanya and Joho, all right? And therefore it was obvious that Baba, in my view, as a political analyst, that let them go. And possibly by letting them go was cutting off the canopy in ODM to allow the younger politicians in the party to be able to take the leadership. The question is, are these younger people that Baba may have cleared the canopy for able to take charge? Because I strongly believe that he had nothing to do with their bargaining. They were to go anyway, all right? And he said, let me save the party, allow them to go. But because you are a good father, you do not embarrass your children in public, all right? You find a way of pinching them and disciplining them quietly away from the public eye, so that they don't lose their confidence. So for me, this was a premeditated thing. The question is whether these younger seedlings will actually feel the sunshine that Baba helped clear the canopy.
Okay. And you know, we keep talking about the party politics and whether the formations matter. Because even in Kasipul, for example, there are 10 aspirants there, but we're talking about a two-horse race. In Ugunja, there are also 10 aspirants. We're also talking about Wiper and ODM. Is this a creation of the media, or is it the way the people really vote? Is there a change? Is there a shift, a significant shift in how the people perceive elections and politics? Or is it more of the same over and over again?
Trevor, I will answer it this way. One, the first question of, is there a shift in the mind of the voter? Not quite. The mind of the voter means that there would always be protagonists in the process. So like if you went, for example, to Kasipul, in the mind of the voter, the protagonists of the 10 who have come out in real fight would be ODM and the first independent candidate, Philip Aroko. If you go to even Beere, it is narrowing down to Karish of DP and Madende. So the point is, the voter would always be able very quickly to narrow down to two protagonists.
Based on what?
Based on their character on the ground.
Or the party they're affiliated to.
Yes, so you cannot discount the effect of the party. But going forward, I think, let me speak for Nyanza. You see, there was a time in Nyanza where the nominations by ODM were on their own the election. And as soon as you got the party nomination ticket by ODM from that part of Kenya, you were deemed elected. Sometimes, and many times, the people who were then deemed elected were coming to Nairobi to help Baba, as it were. And so the people will be told, leave, these ones have to go and help Baba. The realization now is that, no, wait a minute, they may not even have helped Baba after all, because 20 years later, they did not help him bring the trophy home. So now the voter is able to question, and that is why you can see that in Kasipul, notwithstanding the existence heavily of the orange color in the campaign trail, there is full effect of the opposition by National Naroko. And I'm sure even you watched when Kalonzo Musyoka appeared in Ugunja to pitch tent for Engineer Orodio Odhiambo, who is running on Wiper. So what I foresee is, and the trend also normally has been that those who come in through by elections hardly pull through when the next general election comes. So you can expect that even in this by-election outcomes, those who will come through may have to work real hard to still be elected by the voter in 2027. The latest realization is that the party, much as we're in a multi-party democracy infrastructure, but the party now may not really be the issue that this is the party I belong to. The people want to see what else does this candidate present himself for. You see Franklin here, my brother Franklin was talking of Kasipul and saying we can hardly see the ideals the two protagonist candidates stand for.
That are starkly different.
Exactly.
The slogan here.
Exactly. So, and you see naturally from that part of the country, people like vigor. My people are naturally defensive. Yeah, so they like vigor. So you may not have much to do with the semantics of what is coming out, but if I come out in force with vigor, I am easily found accommodated by the voter.
Okay. Yes. Mule?
A number of issues. One is this issue about parties. Franklin has talked about it, okay, has talked about it. I don't know whether we have parties. I know he's working on trying to institutionalize parties, and I think he has a lot of work on his hands to ensure that we do have political parties here. Because I think one of the issues which is lacking in this country is institutionalization, of all these agencies, these organizations. That's how we move. And the question even about moving to the first world is about institutions. Do you have credible institutions? Because what I see, and it's a good point that he has made, that the candidates who come to by-election, most of the time, the trend is they actually don't make it in the general election. Because it is not a question of parties at that point. It's a question of the movements, the political formations, the wind, the political wind at that particular point. So the wind is not a party. The wind is people mobilizing themselves around a certain thinking or political persuasion and therefore deliver on it. One of the areas where I think the media has failed, and you raised it by asking whether it's a formation of the media, is how many of the questions are we taking to the people to ask them, what are your issues and who best represents your issues? There are chances that everybody on the plate does not represent the interest of the people. There's a time I argued with IBC about the issue of unopposed candidates. My argument was, how come we also don't subject them to some kind of public vetting? Because who said? So if we conspire, we are 5 men here, if we conspire that Trevor is the one who's going to run, and maybe that person does not represent the interests of a certain constituency or certain electorate, how do we vet, how do we assess that? Because Trevor then becomes a member of parliament for that constituency against maybe perhaps the wishes of the people. They would have picked okay, or they could have picked Dan here. But we conspired. It's an elite conspiracy. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done in this country in terms of creating institutions, political institutions that address interests. Politics is about interests. Those interests are the issues that people have. How then do we mobilize those interests within an institution? And the fact that most of the political parties, and I agree with Franklin that at least ODM had done some work in terms of getting the grassroots elections done. We need to see all that kind of structure going all the way up to the NDC that Dan is talking about, in terms of the people choosing the leadership of these parties. That's how you harvest the interest of the population and the membership. If you don't do that, then what we have now is a chess game between political persuasions. Those opposed, I mean, the biggest narratives right now is what? Those for the president and those against the president. That's not a political formation.
Okay.
That's not a political party. Those are not political institutions, in my view.
All right. I'll take a quick break, but stay with me. I'll come back with you, Manduku, when we talk about this housing concern that was raised also by Mkwanja in just a short while, as we keep on covering the by-elections 2025 happening across 18 counties. 15 MCA slots up for grabs, 6 member of National Assembly slots up for grabs, 1 Senate, of course, in Baringo, specifically up for grabs, a total of 22 electoral areas. 2 of them were declared no contest, so that's the reason why we're talking about 22 and not 24. And this is a conversation that you're covering for you end to end. And now reporters are on the ground across the place. Manuel Toinbere North, Melita Oletenges Malava, Laura Otieno Ugunja, Stephen Leto Baringo, Gatete Njoroge Kasipul, Francis Talaki Magarini, Ben Kirui Narok, cross end to end. We have you covered. Back in just a short while.